Welcome to another episode of Ruff Talk VR, a weekly podcast with in-depth game reviews, exclusive developer interviews, and the latest MetaQuest and virtual reality news. We join our hosts, the father-son team of D. Scruffles and Stratus today, as they spend another episode breaking down and discussing the world of virtual reality.
Hey, welcome to this episode of Ruff Talk VR. Today we have one that I can already see your smile going.
Dude, this is the most selfish wish list guest ever for me. So
yeah, when we talk about bucket list guests, our guest today is definitely on there. This is one that I honestly
figured I'd run into Bigfoot in a while before we'd ever get to talk to this man himself.
Absolutely. So before we get carried away on it, today we're joined with Spoonfed, the developer of Grim,
the legend,
an upcoming VR game that reminiscent of Rust features, but takes place on Mars.
Yeah.
And we've recently gotten access.
Yeah.
We've been hyping it up for months just off of concept.
Dude,
we're
been talking about it since we first heard about it.
Yeah.
And I'm not shutting up.
But Spoon, he does much more than just Grim. He's a member of the Combat Waffle Studios team. He's done work on Ghost of Tabor. He's done work with Swordsman VR. He's quite the developer.
Dude, he's legit a legend in the VR programming world.
Yes.
I mean, if you got a problem, this is the guy that you wish you had on payroll.
So to say we're pumped is an understatement. So this interview isn't for me, though. This is for, our guest today. So Spoon, do you mind introducing yourself a little bit more for the guests and just tell them what exactly you do?
I'm Spoon. I work for Combat Waffle. I was the lead developer senior developer on Tabor for a while. Scott somehow convinced me to bring Grim to market, so now I just work on Grim full time.
And it's my understanding that Grim was something that you've been working on for a while as a little side project. Is that right?
A little over 6 years, on and off.
Wow. And where did the concept for the game come from? Are you like a long time Rust fanatic?
I've always wanted to know that. Like, was Rust your jam?
I love Rust. Rust is probably my favorite game, and it was too big of a scale for any studio at the time to take on. Too much risk for a large scale game like that, and it being only PCVR, there was no way it would ran on like a Quest 1.
Well, even on today's version, just walking through it on PCVR, I'm like, wow, the fact that this is going to be on the Quest is...
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
But were you professionally working in the VR industry yet when you started, I guess, construction of Grim? Or...
No, I was working in sales, actually, and I had my own office. I answered emails. Nobody ever bothered me, so I would remote in on my phone, and I would work on either PokeQuest, which is one of my other games, or Grim, depending on which one I was burnt out on at the time.
So how did that go from, I guess, a hobby thing doing during the sales gig to now you're working for VR studios?
I had seen a job posting, and it was somebody I had recognized. It was Alex Sin at Sin Studio, and I had helped him previously on another developer Discord, and I reached out. I was like, hey, I heard you're looking for another developer. I'm kind of interested. He was immediately interested at that point. They put me on like a trial basis for like a month, I think, and a week into it, they just hired me directly on. So that's kind of how I got into the door, because everything before that was just hobby.
And completely self-taught?
That was my next question. Yeah.
So you're just like watching Unity videos on YouTube? How did this all...
This started back, I was 13 at the time, I think. There was a PlayStation game called SOCOM. There was a cheater on it, and he had a cheat device that could bypass Sony's DNAS protocols that like the Game Sharks and stuff couldn't get online with, and I wanted to do it. So I went to Books A Million and I bought a C++ for Dummies book. And it turned out it wasn't even in C++, so I couldn't even do anything with it. So at the time, it was kind of a waste. But that's kind of what got me interested in programming, was because I wanted to cheat on a video game.
Well, that's actually pretty funny, coming full circle to the news that, Ghost of Tabor put out the other week with like their new anti-cheat system to ban. But, hey, it's sometimes that's all you need is the passion for it. And to come full circle with it now, Unreal Engine, that uses C++, right?
Yeah.
So might not have worked with SOCOM, it definitely helped you with this.
Started in Source Engine, which was also C++, and I did a lot of modding in Source Engine. I did a little bit in CryEngine, and I was in Unity for a while, and I was working on a Counter-Strike style VR shooter in Unity, and then Pavlov released, and I was like, well, that's kind of dead now. And Unreal Engine released, and I started working in Unreal and haven't looked back.
So you can also code in C# as well?
Yeah.
Very talented.
Yeah, I'm like in self-taught too. That's the part that makes it even more crazy.
Yeah.
But I also feel like if you self-learn something, it's because you really want to learn it, not because you're being forced to just go through the motions. But no, your work, is my understanding, is legendary. Like if there's a problem, you have a talent for being able to spot the reason why, or being able to look in some matrix type vision that sees the anomaly. And what I can only imagine is just millions of pieces of code to go through to find an issue. So, I mean, that in itself is just absolutely mind-boggling.
Well, he says Alec jumped on the opportunity.
There's a reason.
When you reached out about it, that's probably based on the results of the past work you all did. So, geez, I have so many questions. It's kind of hard to pick a place of where to go to.
No, just feet first.
Go to next. Yeah, but we'll continue down it. So, you start working at Sin Studio. Probably still working on PokeQuest as well, because my understanding, you don't freaking sleep. It's just all day developing. At what point do you go? How long were you at Sin Studio, and how did that lead into Combat Waffle Studios with Ghost of Tabor?
When I started at Sin Studio, I didn't want to jump directly into game development because I wasn't sure. Like, I have a kid, I have a family, I have a mortgage. I did not want to jump directly into something that I didn't know if I would be doing it again. So I worked 30 hours a week at when I started, and I also stayed at my 4-hour-a-week job. So I was splitting between the two because I was doing my hobby stuff late at night, so it was no different for me. Just different project.
And now you're getting paid for it as a professional job. But so this is funny to me because I've always heard your work schedule is basically you work all day on, Ghost of Tabor, and then you work all day on, all night on Grim. And it sounds like that's exactly how it was for you from the start of your professional game development. You're working all day in sales, your full-time job, and then
putting in 30 hours a week on another job. Yeah.
That's quite incredible. So how did you meet Scott, and how did that lead into, you at Combat Waffle?
Same Discord I met Alec in. I had Ray. Y'all know Ray. He had needed some help, and I kind of helped behind the scenes with stuff on Tabor. Like if they got stuck, they would message me and ask me. And so this before I even got hired. And one day, it was actually my kid's birthday. We were getting ready to go somewhere, I think trampoline park or something. And I was helping Ray with something. I was like, just hire me. I'll do it. Just kind of joking. And 10 minutes later, I was on an interview with Scott, and he offered me a job. I couldn't pass it up. So I felt bad at the whole weekend to think about it. And I was comfortable where I was at. Everyone at Sin Studio I still like Alex, still like Almir, all of them, all good people. It's just an opportunity that I couldn't pass up. So,
no, professionally, I mean, it makes sense. And now seeing that you're able to devote a lot of time into Grim, it just, I mean, I'm smiling because I'm a consumer. So I'm like, okay, it makes me happier, you know. Maybe it would be coming out sooner this path than if a different path was chosen.
And it's funny how life works. Sometimes you have to be careful what you joke about because, you know, you don't know what's gonna happen.
Put it in the universe
from it. So just for my own curiosity, what was the point that you kicked the can on, you know, the old job, the old sales job? Don't tell me you still do it.
No. Just got to the point where I was just so tired. Like I couldn't keep getting, like, I still do this. Sitting in an office every day just made me more tired. Probably 3 months into Sin Studio when I left my job, where I kind of felt that, hey, I can just do this full time. I don't have to hopefully worried about getting fired next week and living in a box.
Yeah, there's always that feeling when you start something new. You're like, is this real yet? I know it's real. It's happening, but is it ending tomorrow?
I still have that. I'm going to wake up and I'm going to have to go work at McDonald's tomorrow. Like, even this far into it.
The imposter syndrome never really goes away in that regard. That's for sure. I guess that's probably because it's so surreal. I mean, it sounds like you're doing what you love. You know, it's what you would do as a hobby if, you know, money wasn't even a thing. So I'm sure there's a little bit of that surreal aspect to the last couple of years as well. And then, so at this point in time, I mentioned before that, you know, I've always heard you work a lot on Ghost of Tabor and on Grim, but Grim's pretty polished on what I'm playing on PCVR. I got to imagine it's pretty far into the development. What's your split like at this point with Ghost of Tabor and Grim?
I don't really do anything on Tabor anymore. I haven't really worked Tabor since probably December.
All right. And is that because of how far along Grim is, or does it just for it to become a thing, it just needs that much, like all of your attention?
It needs all of my attention. Like I'm on a timeline for Grim, so I can't put a lot of focus on Tabor. They tip to me if they have any issues or need to figure something out or need help with something, but outside of that, I don't really do a whole lot with Tabor now.
I'm sure that's
well, it should be noted too. You're still working with smallest team possible, right?
Yeah, it's just me and 2 artists.
And I heard somebody in your Discord once, and they were asking why, and then Scott chimed in and said it's because you don't actually want I don't want the extra help, but I heard you give a breakdown. If something goes wrong, you know where to find it and who did it. So I kind of understood at that moment, like, all right, I get it. You got 10 people in your program, something breaks. Now you got to go find it from. So it makes sense. But I just can't believe you're doing this by yourself, dude.
Too many hands.
What I've stepped into is like, this is a humongous world.
And how long have those other 2 people been a part of the project? Are they like recent people, or have they been around since, you know, years?
One of them, I think, October of last year, and then one beginning of this year. And I'm currently looking to bring on another artist. No developers, just another artist.
Is the reason
Discord's gonna blow up?
Yeah. Is the reason for the artist like for like optimizing reasons, or is that just an area that you're not comfortable with?
I'm not good at art. If I did art, you would see a bunch of stick figures running around and crayoned rocks everywhere.
So it's kind of a thing of like, I can do everything else. It's just this is the one thing I can't do. So 3 people on that, you know, everything else I'll take care of. Well, that makes sense.
It's also important to know your own limitations. That's how some people fuck up. You know, they think they're good at everything when they're not being honest with themselves.
Yeah.
So at least you know your strongest points and you're willing to stick with them.
I could probably do art, but I don't have time. So
How many hours? Because in my head, you're working 20 hours a day. That's just how I envision. You're on like the Elon Musk schedule of time frame. But what is the legit hour work week?
And this is 7 days a week. I don't work 5 days. I work all 7 days. My schedule is typically get up at around 7:30, start working at 8. Depending on how things go, I usually stop around 6 or 7 p.m. I spend time with family till my wife pretty much falls asleep around 10 or 11 o'clock, and then I'm back on the computer until 3 a.m. and then go to sleep. Well, not really go to sleep, black out, and then wake up and do it again.
Probably dreaming of code and, things that you want to implement. It's actually like a half sleep.
I hope
my wife gets so mad because we'll be watching something on TV and something will pop into my head and I'll get up and she's like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, "I got to go to the computer. I have to fix this. I just remembered."
But that's a story that you'll hear regardless of industry from, great creative people. You'll hear that from writers. You'll hear that from musicians.
You can't turn it off.
No, when you think of the thought, you got to do it in that moment. It might be gone, So I completely understand that. And obviously you were hired for Ghost of Tabor, but it sounds like at some point people inside Combat Waffle became aware of Grim. So how did that happen? Were you just kind of talking, say, "Hey, Scott, I just so you know, I have this project as well."
I just happen to have like kind of a Rust in VR situation going on here.
Yeah. How did it become known?
I didn't go to Scott. Scott came to me for it. Soul had tried it. A couple other, I think Z-Storm, short stacks. And I don't know who initially showed it to Scott, or maybe I did and I just don't remember it from lack of sleep. But he hounded me for a while because he wanted me to be able to release it, which at the time I'd never planned on releasing it I wanted to put 4 more years into it before I ever showed it to the public, really. And it was only going to be PCVR at the time.
Were you stubborn on adding the Quest to that list?
Yes, because I wanted to push the game forward with the scale, which at the time there was no map in VR that size. Now there's Contractor Showdown, which their map is slightly smaller than mine because of the ocean, kind of the shape. It's not as much playable area as the Mars map.
And it shrinks fast, just saying.
Yes, it's not persistent.
I feel like that's a big reason that they can get away with it so easily because, like, I don't think the game has to load the entire map, the whole game.
Well, no.
It only has to load it for, a couple minutes before, pew. I mean, the second you load in, the zone's already shrinking.
And we question that with whether the ocean was included in the map size, but I would assume it is.
And at this time, if I'm not crazy, Grim was not the Mars setting, right? It was more of like that classic Rust setting.
Yeah. I'm still on the fence. The island's coming back at some point. Like my heart is on the island. The Mars map was like to be able to go to Quest. I couldn't do an island at the scale that I wanted to do.
So there's still that part of you that
I'm always thinking about the island.
So is there a possible scenario where Mars could exist on PCVR and Quest, but you could have Island and Mars on PCVR only, or would it be like an injustice to the...
I've thought about it a lot. I'm not sure. While the Quest 2 is supported, it's kind of impossible for me to do a giant island. It's not the Quest 3 that holds it back. It's the Quest 2.
Okay.
I've never wanted a game to be able to choose to be exclusive to Quest 3 more.
Yeah.
But if the idea is to
Me
get
too.
it on Quest, it's because of the amount of Quest 2s on the market. So then you're limiting that.
It makes sense.
I get it. Ugh, what a struggle as a
But
developer.
I'd really like the island. What the hell, man?
It's coming. Don't worry. It's coming.
Although Mars thus far, I mean, it's in development, so nothing's finished. Nothing's in no pun intended, but anything I see, I go, well, nothing's in stone. Anything can change at any time, I would assume. But I'm freaking impressed, man. When I looked at that sun, that really blew me away because you got that haze around it, and it just, you can't breathe on Mars, but you could feel what that air would feel like if you could, and it would just be so uncomfortable. So the environment is good. I absolutely love the environment.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a substantial learning curve for me.
So how'd you come up with the Mars idea then to switch it to that? Was that because of like, you were like, all right, if it's mostly, rock, I can render that? How'd the Mars idea come to be?
Oh, at first I was going to change it to more of a desert theme, and I had played a mod on Rust called Project Nova, where it took place on Mars. They essentially had the same ideas, biomes, whatnot. And a lot of the inspiration came from that.
I love it for Mars because, as you said, like there's things that work with it, like the oxygen tank, the biodomes. It creates such a unique play style. But how much did you have to change core game mechanic wise when you made that scenery switch to Mars?
Nothing changed. Yeah.
So it's just a texture and art thing.
Even the oxygen tanks, they were supposed to be used for swimming on the island.
It's like a scuba tank.
Yeah, so they were repurposed.
Were there going to be biodomes originally in the
island?
The island?
No.
Which I guess biodomes is the inside of the biodome what the original island map would look like?
Yeah. It's all the same art from the island.
So it's just a taste of the okay. It's making some sense now.
This is so cool.
I mean, scenery wise in the Mars, there's so much to me lore to be had based on certain buildings and structures. So
AdvantEDGE right there too.
Yeah. When everything's said and done, I'd like, obviously the story could change, so you can't ask for anything now. But I'd love to know the story of like why certain buildings are where they are and certain structures are.
So how long did it take you to concede on the quest before you're like, all right, we'll do it?
I don't know, a couple weeks maybe. It was shortly after. I believe he had talked to y'all on an interview about Grimm and that he was trying to convince me, and it wasn't really long after that.
I'm glad it went the way it did. We just recently got PCVR, but we're primarily Quest standalone users, and there's such a huge market of users there. I know it's painful on your end as the developer, losing sleep trying to get it to work on the Quest, but what that's going to do for the VR community to have a game like this on the Quest store is going to be absolutely outrageous. I mean, I don't think people are ready for when this game hits the market.
No, dude. And it's not a short-term investment as a player. It's like, if you really want to enjoy this, you're going to be doing thousands of hours.
Well, I don't take it that when Grimm releases that you're taking a break or anything like that.
No.
How long do you foresee? Do you think that Grimm's going to be something that's like a lifelong project?
15 years is my goal after release. I want to support the game. It has always been my intention for the game, similar to how when Rust released in its legacy version, was the game kind of grew as tech grew, and Rust is where it's at now because the tech is there. And that's what I wanted for Grimm. As VR tech grew, I wanted to be able to expand the game.
And
I heard the 15-year comment before, and I couldn't freaking believe that.
I know you're being like exaggerative with I couldn't believe it, but based off of what I've heard with Spoon, I totally believe it.
No, it depends on who's talking. Yeah. Oh, no.
I think that's something people should know when they go and they grab Grimm. It's like, this isn't something that's going to be dumped and what it is what it is. It's like it's going to evolve. It's going to grow, as you said, with the VR tech.
Play it in your 50th birthday, and when you retire and are getting Social Security is when maybe it'll stop being work done. Yeah, that's a good freaking deal.
And is obviously I'm not going to push to get a release date or anything out of you, but like, you know, you mentioned that you have a timeline probably set by your own crazy standards, but do you have a time that you would like to see Grim out this year, next year?
Q4 of this year has always been the plan. It could be sooner, could be later. I don't like giving timelines because I don't want to hurt myself and force myself into releasing something that isn't ready.
Would you say the only holdup at this point is the Quest 2?
Well, not just Quest in general. Quest 2, Quest 3. Quest 2 is going to use application space warp because it's just not strong enough to hold a map at this scale. I don't think without it, without having to dumb down everything significantly. And my goal has always been, I want the high quality for PCVR. I don't want to dumb the game down for PCVR just to support Quest. I'm kind of doing the opposite approach that every other developer has taken, where they take the PCVR version and they dumb it down to Quest standards, and I can't stand that.
Well, it takes longer, more work, but you're doing it right.
Full disclosure, I sent Spoonfed a message. We were talking about something, and I was like, oh man, it must be painful to have to dumb down your game, so I get it. I got the response, I'm not dumbing down my game just because it's going on. I'm doing the opposite. I'm like, holy crap, man. But your self standards of quality and are through the roof, correct?
Yeah, I've never actually played a standalone game, so I have no comparisons of what a standalone game is supposed to look like. Mikhail from Combat Waffle has tried the Quest version, and he was blown away at the quality on the Quest.
Oh man, that's crazy. What do you play on?
Index.
So you have no gauge of, in your mind, of like what is acceptable is probably going to be so much above what we currently see.
You already know it though. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And are you able to say, I guess, what the current state of the game is like on the Quest? Like, is it bootable or is it just a frame rate mess?
On Quest 3, it runs at 72 FPS. Some of the biomes can drop down to like 50-ish, which I'm not. I could turn on Space Warp on Quest 3 and call it good, but I'm not going to do that because I don't want to be dependent on Space Warp for the Quest 3.
This guy's such a gangster.
Well, no, there's two routes you can take in life. There's the easy path, and there's the one with the most resistance. So we can guarantee that Spoonfed's going to always take the path of the most resistance. But at the end, we'll have, really, I mean, from a programming standpoint, somewhat revolutionary because no one else is taking the same approach like that. So,
well, I love that this is a story of, it's not like a huge academic background that a bunch of hype. You're 100% results based. That's how you've advanced in your career. That's why Sin Studio sounds like they went crazy with you. That's why it sounds like Combat Waffle and Scott, they go crazy with you there. It's because results, and that's what you bring. And from what we've played so far with Grim, I can attest to it.
Yeah, dude, there's a ton. Is there going to be a tutorial with Grim? I just want to ask some loaded questions.
I'm undecided.
We can get to the actual game itself.
I kind of want to do a tutorial, but I also kind of want to force players to have to figure it out. Like, I want the game to make people angry. The first time I played Rust, like, I refunded it like 3 times because they had no tutorial. Like, I just kept going in. I kept dying immediately. Naked people kept beating me with rocks, and I hated it so much. And finally, I bought it again, and I started to learn the game and figure things out. And I kind of want that for Grim, but a lot of Quest users don't have that
Patience?
jump in and learn. Yeah, patience. So I'm undecided on the tutorial.
You know, I'm not a huge like Rust player. Flat screen. Do they have a tutorial in 2024?
I think they have an update that they're working on, a quote unquote tutorial island, where it's supposed to be like this 2-hour long type tutorial. But up until this point, Rust has never had a tutorial. It's
been
just
like, what,
you
like 20
jump
years?
in and figure it out.
That's wild. So
I know I'm on the fence. Part of me, like, because I appreciate a good, well done tutorial, but in this particular instance, because I'm looking at my own personal struggles, it's not like I'm able to go in and there's like, hey, you want a cheat code or a tutorial? Like, no, it's like really as raw as it's going to get for me as a human being. And I'm enjoying the struggle because the reward of figuring out the most simplest fucking thing feels like such a huge accomplishment. And I mean, honest to God, like the first time I figured out, like, hey, obviously you run out of oxygen on Mars, right? So there must be a way to get more. And then you realize it's not complicated.
walk to the biodome.
You feel like you did something like really good.
Well, look at the difference between our first 2 play sessions. The first time we played, we ran around the road a bunch, went to the biodome. You got eaten by a bear.
Yeah.
I probably got killed by spoon-fed, it sounds like. I died of hunger, died of oxygen. We never bumped into each other. Still had a blast, but the whole first play session was just like not
Holy
finding each
shit.
other, dying, figuring out the place. Second play session.
I don't know what to do and I got a rock.
Second play session, we bump into each other. How freaking cool was it when we find each other in the biodome?
Yeah.
We start building stuff. We start collecting stone, start collecting, sulfur. We started collecting wood, cloth. We built sleeping bags. We start to build some base materials.
That base is gone by now.
No doubt. But my point being, we got somewhere.
Yeah.
So the difference between even just our first and our second play session,
Huge.
and if our second play session was our first play session, it wouldn't have felt as rewarding and special. Like if the game was like,
grind to get that shit last week and figure it out.
If the game was like, here's how you grab the blueprint, here, go find one, and here's how it wouldn't have been that same excitement.
No, agreed. So I'm on the fence, dude, with your tutorial.
Even as a consumer, I usually like it, exactly what you said. I like a good tutorial, but the feeling of accomplishment in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no hand holding. You're just thrown in and you have to figure it out.
I mean, dude, I won't lie. I've found items and on, if you gave it to me in real life, I'd know what to do with it, but I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do with it.
Like, I guess we can give the tip of a rock. Like if you grab a rock and
I had to add, I'll disclosure it. I had to send Spoonfed a message about this rock.
Say, how do I collect materials with it? Because you start with a rock.
I'm doing something wrong, man.
And it's not like a pebble rock. It's a big rock. It looks like you could take somebody out with it,
Yeah, pretty standard.
So you're like, I'm pretty sure I can do stuff with it.
Should be able to harvest stuff, right?
You're hitting stuff with one hand and it's not working. And I think your response was, use 2 hands.
Yeah, you got to earn it.
So it's just stuff like that. You got to use 2 hands to collect. But once you figure that out, boom, then you're collecting stuff. I guess, would you have some basic tips that you'd feel comfortable to share? Because I think part of the enjoyment is players figuring it out organically too. But do you have any kind of like first time?
And keep in mind, this is a game that's under development. We're talking about this like you can go out tomorrow and buy it in the store, So it's like
hopefully Q4.
I would just disclaim anything we hear may or may not be a tip down the road.
That's true. That's a good point too.
But if something's lock solid and you would deem it worthy as a good, hey, I'm a new player, what would you recommend I do? That's a good tip.
Looking at your forearm for your health, it displays all your health, hunger, thirst. I don't know if y'all have found that yet.
Nope. I'll be 100% honest with you. We were talking about it last night.
If you gaze at your forearm for, I think it's like 0.5 seconds or something, it'll display all your stats and stuff for you.
Dude, I don't even want to talk about it.
And I made it gaze based so that way it wouldn't, like if you're holding a gun or something, every time your forearm went across the screen, it wouldn't be annoying. So that's people they have a hard time finding it. That's one of the biggest things. They don't know why they die because they can't see the bars, because they starved to death or they dehydrated.
That makes so much sense too.
No, you know how I was doing it? I was looking on the PC. So I'd lift up my thing. I'm like, I see it in the left-hand corner of the PC. And I questioned, I'm like, why can I not see it? So I looked at my hands.
Press the menu button.
Like I pressed every button. I'm like, I know I'm doing something wrong. So it was actually a question I was going to bring up. Am I doing something wrong? But anytime something's in early development, it's weird asking questions.
I don't know if it's fair to say early development either, but in development,
late development, we'll say it doesn't matter. It's like things can change. So it's like I'm always reluctant with like, oh, well, maybe that's something that's not even going to be. But now, damn it,
that's a good one.
I feel stupid again. So your Discord has over 8,000 people in it.
Yeah, it's wild.
Holy
for a game
Moses.
That's not released.
So I'm assuming you're going to have ample servers that are going to be able to accommodate what I'm feeling like is going to be like old school concert when they open the door and you have 10,000 people running through it to get good seats in what is the Rust base, just foaming at the mouth to get over here.
Yeah, we're going to have, it depends on player counts. I can't scale up servers and scale them down like Tabor does with theirs, because once a server goes up, it has to stay up because each player is linked to a specific server. So if you pull a server down, they pretty much lose all their progress.
Old school MMO style. That's how MMOs were.
Yeah. I do want to do community hosted servers to where people can host their own servers. I haven't decided on player counts yet. I wanted 100. I'm not sure if I'll get 100. I'm not sure if it'll be too cluttered with 100. That's my biggest concern. I'm not worried if it can handle 100 players. I know it can. I'm worried that it will be too congested with 100 players.
That's crazy. 16 kilometers too cluttered with 100 players.
That's going to be a big neighborhood.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy? I'm confident whatever the server size is going to fill up. If it's 60 people, that's going to fill up. If it's 100, it's going to fill up too.
Well, people, and I mean, again, in the Rust community, it's not a secret that somebody's making this game. So it's like, don't you have some play testers that are Rust players that have like obscene amount of hours in Rust?
Yeah, there's I think one of them has 6,000 hours in Rust. I mean, I'm looking at Discord and he's playing Rust right now. So
6,000 hours
with no exact number. How many playtesters do you think there are right now?
Oh, I mean, I can give you an exact number.
And I guess my follow up to that would be, what's the most that you've ever had playing at the same time?
Not many right now. When it was the island, I didn't have a whole lot of testers because I didn't want a whole lot of people. I still don't want a whole lot of people. My main thing with testing is for people to go in and I'm looking for crashes, server crashes, client crashes. That's my main concern. There's 68 testers right now, I think.
Damn, we're of a very privileged group, I'll say, in that regard.
Oh, dude, you have no idea.
Like, I see the people always wanting it. You get private messages.
I have people who send me messages.
How do I get on Grim?
I'm like, I got no dog in that hunt. I got no juice. Fill out the application.
I see it in the Discord daily.
It's the number one thing is the you asked. The you asked. But it's important for people to know. And just so we can put it out there, you can apply to be a tester in your Discord, correct?
Yes.
Doesn't mean that you'll get accepted.
Applying does not mean there's an age requirement of 18 plus, and applying does not mean acceptance. It's apply, and if needed, you choose.
Yeah.
And then
We have
and then
we have over 2,000 tester applications that we go through as we need more people, and I only bring on like 10 at a time usually. It's not. I don't bring on a lot because I don't need a lot right now.
Yep. I just wanted to get it out there publicly because we joke about it on the show sometime. We'll bring up the Discord and I'm like, dude, it's like every day people just give me the game. Give me the game. I applied. I want to be a tester. And it's like, you got to assume you're not the only person. And there's a program in place and people hear 2,000 applications. Now it'll start to sink in as to why you're not jumping on 2,000 people to turn them into your game. So.
And this might be a silly question, but I mean, it sounds like things haven't fully clicked yet. Are you mentally prepared for how successful this game's going to be when it launches? Or is it still just kind of just
I don't
life?
I don't even think about it. I think about working on the game. That's all I think about. Doing this interview, I'm thinking about working on the game.
It's crazy.
As you can see, once this interview's over, I'll be working on the game.
I'm actually not shocked that you're not working on the game while doing it. I just
can't
hope when
give
it's
away
all
secrets.
said and done and the dust settles that you get to take some. I don't even know if you ever take time off. It doesn't seem like you do. 7 days a week, just grinding so fucking hard. I made a joke months ago. I'm like, I hope someday we hear Spoon's going to his spoon-fed island that he was able to get after this game. I think this game is going to be just ginormous. It'll be a game of the year contender, in my opinion.
It's everything I ever wanted from a Township Tale. I know that's a silly comparison, but I mean, that's what I went to Township Tale wanting, is exactly what
Rust.
Grim is bringing. Yeah, I wanted Rust, basically.
Yep. That was I just feel you're nailing it.
Mm-hmm.
Community strong.
And now I did encounter a spacesuit in the game, in a chest, and I put it on my dude, but I don't think it did anything. Does the spacesuit do something? Is there a way I can like reduce my oxygen consumption or something like that?
It increases armor for bullets, melee, AI. So depending on, and it does it per body part. So it may protect the head better, chest, and then it also has radiation protection. So if you go to the airfield, I don't know if y'all have seen the giant airfield yet, but there is a massive airfield and it has radiation, and the spacesuit is the only way you can go in it currently.
How far away? So would you go from the biodomes to find the air station? Definitely I have not wandered. I'm such a little wuss with like leaving my safe little oxygen area.
I don't know the distance off the top. It's a good probably 5-minute run, 10-minute run from the biome. The big center biome, because there's 4 total.
I think we've encountered 2 so far, right?
Well, dude, the other day all I did was walk, and I literally felt alone and abandoned. I did. I felt like at any minute I could die, because I don't care if it's testers or not. I know there's some people that'll probably kill you on sight.
There are still 68 testers. There still could be somebody else that hops in.
I feel like there's a risk of and I'm walking down the road, so I couldn't be more visible to anybody, and I'm probably talking while I'm doing it, no regard to sound or anything. But yeah, I mean, the map is freaking giant. I'm just trying to learn the map.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate hearing there's more in it that I haven't seen. I saw some sort of factory-ish area.
Oh, that's the quarry. That's the one we're currently working on. And then we have a research lab, and then a safe zone. And then there's a secret lab that's built into the edge of the map that will extend past it, which will be kind of like an all underground area. And then the airfield is going to have an underground area with AI in it.
Why so much?
So when you say
yesterday,
there's going to be like NPCs, is that what you mean?
Yeah. So Rust has these like scientists that are in like hazmat suits. Well, I have robots with guns.
Well, that'll be great for new players that like just to learn the game. They need some PVE, unless it's not an area you can access,
dude. If you
until you really know your shit.
Did you spawn in with a gun?
No. So now that I'm thinking about it, that doesn't sound like something.
A robot with a gun. No.
Oh man.
You better know what you're doing.
Yeah. What am I saying?
It sounded good.
Again, I've never played too much Rust or anything, so there's some things I don't know about Rust. Like I didn't know Rust had NPCs, for example. Has there been thought, or is it a thing that there would be like any type of official like in-game clan or guild system or friend system, anything like that, or not really?
There is a group system right now. If you open the inventory, you can see create group, and then you go up to a friend and look at them and press trigger. It'll send them an invite, and then you can see a green above their head, and you can see that you can't see it through things, but it will always be above their head. So if they're in your view, you can always you won't have a question on if that's a friendly or not.
What's crazy is I wanted to try the group button, but I got so excited that we were able to figure out how to meet up.
Jumping up and down like little kids.
We were high-fiving and shit. Yeah. So stupid. Let's take a picture. Like we did it.
Yeah.
But better you than someone else, dude.
But no like a guild system or clan system or anything like that, will you?
None of that.
I feel like I enjoy it, that answer, because it keeps it more like hardcore versus like, here's a list of people you're friendly with.
Yeah, you're not getting any freebies. It's I'm feeling.
No.
You're going to earn and work for everything.
So much potential in this game. And as I keep playing it, I'm only going to get more and more questions. But half the fun, like I said, is organically discovering it. And we built the most makeshift base ever last night. Not to be permanent. We put it like right next to a biodome. Somebody's going to find that and be like, what are these fools doing? It was just to kind of learn the build mechanics.
It's with an eyesight of it, for sure.
People are going to find it very fast.
Noted.
There might even be some resources in there, unfortunately.
Oh, there's a whole chest full of shit.
But it was just for us to figure out, what we're doing. But I think you found a trap in one of the...
I found like a pressure. I think it's a pressure sensor.
So instantly I'm like, this place is super vulnerable, but clearly there's ways we could booby trap it and stuff like that. Is there ways to like lock up your base or fortify it, or as we already saw, booby trap, obviously that, but what protective measures can you take so people don't mess with your stuff?
So when you first build a base, it's twig. You can craft a hammer, and you can use resources to upgrade the walls to wood, stone, and metal, each one having a higher health, and they do less. They take less damage from certain weapons. If someone has enough C4, there's not really a whole lot you can do. They're going to get in regardless. There's an electricity system that you can hook up auto turrets to that you can load with ammo, and anyone not authorized on that turret, it will kill fairly quickly. There are pressure pads and whatnot that you could technically hook up to the auto turret, so anytime someone steps on it, it'll turn the auto turret on and kill them, so it doesn't just waste ammo.
Do you need to feed ammo into the auto turret, or is it infinite ammo?
Yes. You have 4 slots, and it takes rifle ammo.
Oh man, the possibilities of creation going through my head right now.
I'm not lying. Since we stopped playing last night,
all you're thinking is building shit.
All I've thought about was like, I want to just, because I'm into like, I figured some shit out, and then I know I can upgrade from the wood to like much better. And I laugh because I'm like, someone could destroy our base, I'm assuming, with an axe being made of wood. So I'm not sweating. But the reality is I don't care how good you build your shit. If someone wants it and they have access to good stuff, they're gonna fuck your base up.
Well, because I'm a little fucking kid. The first thing I think of when I see all these features is like, I want the biggest, baddest base that if you're not part of like the Ruff Talk VR Discord crew, you're not going to go near that fucking base. You're going to die. That's the first thing my brain goes to. So I'm
getting more and more humbled to the reality, though. No,
it's not easy.
It's the Rust base that's going to come over. That's just going to be like, oh my God.
It's my hope that we have enough of a head start knowledge wise that at least we'll be able to survive. But, Ghost of Tabor has wipes and stuff like that. Is that something that's going to exist in Rust, or a server is going to be persistent forever?
Grim.
I'm sorry, in Grim?
Grim. Yeah, so I want to, for player-hosted servers, they'll be able to choose between week, 2 week, and maybe monthly. I can't officially support monthly because performance would be horrible with the amount of building parts and stuff built over an entire month. But official servers will be a weekly wipe. Blueprints that you learn will wipe monthly. So you'll keep your blueprints every week through that month that you've learned. And then new month, everything's wiped, fresh start completely.
Okay, so wipes are essential not only for player fairness, but also for performance. That makes
sense. Yeah.
Okay.
Makes total sense, especially if you have everybody building.
Me and you.
Shit. Yeah, and we're just 2 people and not confirmed how many people will be in server, but that's a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what number you throw at me, it's going to be a lot of people.
Well, that's why there's decay and upkeep as well. I don't know if y'all know this, but you have to place a tool cupboard down and fill it with resources or your base will decay. So if you didn't do that last night, your base is probably gone.
That's why I said it's gone.
And no building in biodomes, right? We weren't doing anything wrong.
Yeah. Any of the POIs you can't build within a radius of them. I don't want people like blocking off the doors to the airlocks and things like that.
Well, you do know the first foundation I tried to lay was right at the entrance of
the biodome.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. And then I couldn't even be upset about it. I'm like, I must be doing something wrong. And then I'm like,
I think we went to a different biodome too to try the other biodome.
Let's go to the other one. Maybe it's just it's this one. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm like, this is making sense. I bet you anything we have to walk a certain amount of distance away. So you can't be an asshole and just, because I was thinking, I'm like, you get a group of people, y'all just build at the entrances. Screw you.
Walk off the oxygen area.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get to my auto turn area to get oxygen. No, that's smart.
I just don't know why I didn't think of it,
Well, what's good for you is you get to learn already from so many of like all right, you got to let them make them build a certain way from this spot, mistakes that maybe have been learned in Rust already. You get to carry over that knowledge into the development of Grim. So
will there be the ability to build like trap rooms and stuff similar to Rust?
Yeah.
Not necessarily to that
so,
degree, but
technically you can already do that with the electricity system. I want to go more into depth with it. So you control doors and whatnot with the electricity. Maybe like the pressure pads when someone steps on it, closes the door, turns on an auto turret, things like that.
I like the trapping people in little vaults and stuff, just fucking with them.
Mm-hmm. I've heard this guy talk about Rust.
Dude,
videos.
I can watch the trap videos all day long
for years, like literally a decade. I've heard he'll just come over and he'll be like, "Dude, I saw this video," and so I know your excitement is genuine for those type of features.
Hey, I can't.
Do you ever watch Mimeo?
Mimeo
trap videos.
I you know what? I had to have.
He
probably doesn't know by creator name, but
he's in the Discord. He's in the Grim Discord. So.
So he does.
Maybe he'll be building some wild trap bases in Grim.
See, you know what I learned from the Rust videos is don't go into places. If you didn't build it, don't go into it. Especially if it's got if
it's big,
too good to be true shit in there. Somebody messes with you and they go into some small little building, you think you're going to come out okay. But
the problem is if you're a new player and you don't know what's player created and what's, official. At least in Grim, you can have the idea of if it's not a biodome, it's probably not real. It's probably player created.
I don't trust anything.
And have you heard hype in the Rust community about this game?
Not really. No, but we have a few of the content creators from Rust in the Discord, but outside of that, doesn't seem like it, which I'm kind of fine with, kind of not. I don't know. It's too early to tell.
I think
I don't want to bring all the toxicity of Rust. Like, I know there's going to be toxicity, but Rust is a whole other level, and I kind of want to steer clear of that. But in the end, it's all up to the players. So the players do what they want.
Well, if we see the Rust community starting to play it, I guarantee you a lot of them aren't like headset owners right now. So that means that they're buying headsets for the game. So let's see when the game's actually out. You know, people can hit buy now. That's when the wildfire really starts.
I am anticipating a level of toxicity that will come into play, but I'm just hoping not to that same. I think some of the Rust toxicity is because of the reputation of it, so people use that as their free for all to be as toxic as they want to be. Because who's shocked? It's Rust. I mean, everyone tolerates it if you go in there, right? Where this hopefully will have, just enough fairness of it. Like, fuck you, teabag, whatever. But
it does seem in general like the VR community is a little less toxic online than what I've experienced flat screen.
Lately, I've seen that.
I don't know about that. Yeah. Played Pavlov.
Well, we've been hopping into Contractor Showdown a bit, and
holy shit,
some of those words,
the level of I got it last night was like, I think the worst I've ever seen. And oh yeah, fuck my mom and lick my taint.
So it's coming,
and that was the good words. Holy crap. But no, I'm hoping it's just a nice balance of player and toxicity, because that's a good mix. I won't lie.
And you mentioned Pavlov earlier in the interview. You mentioned it now. Sounds like you're a game you're a fan of. You probably started working with Sin Studio because you're a fan of Swordsman VR. Are you still playing VR games as a consumer, or is it just no time?
I'd never, like, when I first got into VR, it was sim racing, dirt rally, really. Shoot, I have thousands of hours in dirt rally, Assetto Corsa, so that's where my VR time went. I played Pavlov a little bit. I wasn't a huge fan, but I did mod for it. I'm the one who put all the Dust 2, all the Counter-Strike maps. I kind of got tired of working on it, handed it off to someone else. They kind of took over. I don't really have time to play VR. Swordsman, if I'm being honest, I never played Swordsman. Outside of working on the game, I never played it. Same with Tabor. I don't really play Tabor. I played it maybe once.
So your true enjoyment comes from
development.
Yeah. I like turning nothing into something, or somebody telling me I can't do something, and then I try to do it.
What about playing your own game? Do you get some enjoyment out of that, or is that still kind of work because you're looking for bugs or anything?
Yeah, I can't enjoy it because the second I run into something, an issue, I'm off. I'm loading up the editor. I'm fixing it.
When I've seen your fix updates, it's like I'd mentioned to you before, I'm like, most people would do like, hey, I did this. No, you dump out like
mine are paragraphs.
In like no time. It's like, holy shit. I appreciate the Dust 2, by the way. And I'm telling you, nobody can make Counter-Strike in VR. I'm just putting it out there. If you want to challenge yourself.
Oh, call out Valve to it. Not like that they've ever done anything VR related.
I won't lie. CS and I'll even take 1.6. CS 1.6 in VR. I'm the happiest dude in the whole world.
Yeah, 3,000 hours in Counter-Strike. So
nope,
a lot of time.
Dust 2
Counter-Strike.
Yeah, all growing up as a kid, that was the game I remember you playing the most.
Yeah, we were in Proving Grounds, and which was competition, and Cal League, which we of course did not win, or I'd probably be rolling in Cal League money at the time, which was amazing that you could make that. But no, Counter-Strike was legit. I still love Counter-Strike. I just don't play it.
So since it was referenced a little bit earlier in the episode, but we didn't really go in depth into it or anything like that, do you want to explain to the listeners what PokeQuest is?
Yeah. I'm a big Pokemon fan. I've always been into the mainly the Pokemon MMOs, like the one-off third-party created. And I always thought that VR needed a Pokemon game. There had been attempts. It was a 3D style Pokemon game, which I was working on mine kind of at the same time they released theirs. I played it. I didn't like it. I can make something better than this. So that's what I tried to do. That's why it looks pixelated, because I didn't want to do 3D because they were doing 3D. I didn't want to step on any toes, so I tried to make it a bit different. It plays pretty much just like a Pokemon game. There's no like actual story, but you can play through all the gyms and whatnot. It was something I worked on while I was working in my office. I would remote in on my phone and just work on PokeQuest. And I kind of jumped back between it and Grim, depending on which one I was more burnout at the time.
And do you ever still put any time into development there, or is it just canned at this point? Not canned, but, other things going on.
I kind of want to work on it. I kind of don't. All the people in the Discord, I think it has 7,000 people in the Discord. When's the next update? When's the next up? I'm busy. I have other, this is just a love of labor for me. I can't spend all my time on this. Maybe
Do they
one
know
day
in that Discord that you're also working on Grim? Or
yeah. They know, and they still ask when's the next update.
People, when they're passionate about something,
Well, that just, I was going to say, it's just because it's got the passion attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I am curious, and we're going to jump ahead. And if you have a 15-year vision for Grim, all things being equal, do you foresee any other projects on the personal level coming out, or is this I'm happy with this because this was something that was a pet project anyways?
I have an idea for another game, but I don't. It's kind of early. I don't really know if I'll even go down that road. All my focus is on Grim, and I want all my focus to be on Grim. So when I start thinking of other ideas, I have to force myself to stop because I know I'm going to start prototyping something. I try to stay away from it, but you've said that, and now it's back in my head, so thank you.
I apologize, and I shouldn't have even asked it because I'm but it's just, you start realizing the way some people are wired, and it's you got to wonder what else is going on in there, because there's already been a couple of different games, other different projects being worked on for other people, and it's what
I'll
else?
tell you, I'll give you kind of a hint of what I'm thinking about. Co-op game that is no quest. I wouldn't want to be limited by quests on this. It would be a cross-play between PC and VR.
There's a lot of potential. But it's open-ended. People can speculate.
Anything, yeah.
It could be anything.
It could be anything.
Something Stalker-esque,
Okay.
but co-op.
Had me at co-op.
But first we got to get
cross-platform.
First we got to get Grim. This is all future fun, but 15 years of Grim supported, and like I said earlier, I think that's very reasonable.
That's a huge upfront commitment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important for people to know too, because that's usually something that
I'm already committed.
Yeah, it's you don't hear of very few roadmaps that for the next 3 years. It's usually 6 month, 1 year roadmap, and then after that, what happens. 15 years, more than a decade.
It's already been 6. What's another 15?
And if you had your way, you would have waited 4 more years. I've been 10 years in development.
Yeah. Think of how good it would have been.
Well, it'll still get there. It'll still get there. Now you'll have thousands of people playing it at the same time too.
That's going to be the interesting the release for this. It's got all potential.
No, I don't think
very dangerous.
I don't think the industry is prepared for it. Really,
I don't think the players are prepared for it, because there's going to be some bangers coming out, dude.
Mm-hmm.
It's no joke. It's the Rust base that scares me. It's like these people they've been in these games forever. They've got a learning curve right off the bat. No surprises. And organization. They're organized. I'm scared. I was scared of the bear. Dude, I walk into that dome and I see that bear. I just run the opposite direction. I want no piece of that.
I think so far I found a hunting bow, which I was actually able to craft arrows for, so I can actually use it.
Yeah.
Got quite a bit of arrows. Then
Did you use it?
I didn't. Man, I was looking for a deer. It was the one time I didn't find a deer. I see the deer all the time when
you wanted to go kill it. I'm like, dude, I was clearly advised not to go primal and eat raw animal.
Doesn't mean I can't collect the meat.
You can cook it in the furnace.
Exactly. I was down to go hunt it, but I couldn't find the deer by the time I got the hunting bow. But what's your go-to weapons in the game? I also found a crossbow. I found pistol ammo, but no pistol.
Mine's gonna be the AK or the L96, mainly because
that's me learning that those guns are in the game.
The L96 because I like the scope. I'm pretty sure I had never worked on scopes before. When I asked around who has the best scopes in VR, that's who I want to imitate. And everyone told me Contractors has the best scopes out of any game in VR. So that's kind of what I aim towards. And I've had a few people tell me that mine feels smoother than Contractors. I've never played Contractors. I don't know how to compare them. I just looked at videos of them and I did that. That's kind of how I did the mag palming or Ghost of Tabor. Scott said he wanted mag palming. He showed me a video of some Roblox game or something of somebody showing off their mag palming and nobody was doing it in VR. And I was like, yeah, I could do that. So I spent a couple weeks on it, figured it out.
And is that fun to you? Like getting a challenge like that nobody's done yet? Here's mag palming.
Yeah, like Swordsman. Have you tried the bow in Swordsman?
I don't think I've used the bow.
Swordsman in a while.
No, I haven't played Swordsman since release, to be honest with you.
I spent months. Me and Martin. Martin did a lot of the material side of things, making it look visually good, and he did some really unique stuff with the collision boxes for when you're drawing the bow back. But I spent weeks working on the physics of the bow to make it feel like you're actually pulling a string back, where most VR games, it's just kind of on and off. You don't get that resistance of a string. And I spent months on that. And my bow is kind of a very dumbed down version of that because I didn't want to go wild with the physics. And
such a gangster. I'll be honest with you.
No, the level of
And when you figure that out for Swordsman, are you able to take that knowledge right away into Grim and cut all that development time out for Grim, or is it like starting from scratch again?
Same ideas, less complexity. Swordsman's a single player game. I could get away with heavier physics stuff. Grim's bow is a very, very dumbed down version of Swordsman's.
Makes sense.
More primitive. No, it makes total sense, especially for the environment.
Mm-hmm. And what have some been probably the most fun challenges in developing Grim?
I don't know if any of it's been fun, but
that's fair. Fun in a sadistic way of being a workhorse.
Well, and what makes you unique as well is like not only we know your program schedule is ridiculous, but you're also always looking at Discord, responding to people when you can. It's like dude, the brain is just going every different direction and pulling it off. It's quite the undertaking, and doing it mainly solo to make it even more complex, and maintaining a family.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely fucking crazy.
To be fair, solo makes it easier for me. If I had a team of 10 developers working on Grim, I don't know what I'd do. I'd probably jump off a bridge.
Well, at that point, the time is managing people, not actually being hands-on developing it.
If I had more hands-on development, I'd probably still jump off the bridge.
So this is like the ideal way that you prefer to operate.
That's how I like to work. Quest, I built it all by myself. When I was at Sin Studio, everything they asked me to do, it was kind of like, hey, I don't want to work with anyone on this. I want to do it by myself. It's just if I do it, and that's not just development for me. That's with anything, whether it's home improvement. If I do it myself, I know it's done right. If something goes wrong, I know exactly where to look. I can fix it instantly. I don't have to go ask 4 different people what they did here or there and try to figure something out.
Well, that's how we're getting this game is what works for you. You're well-oiled machine, and
this scares me though when you have somebody with such a high standard for everything. Like it scares me for what I could encounter in a game.
Well, it still has me cracking up. He doesn't know the standard of what to compare to for other Quest games.
No.
So I still think we're going to be getting, because I've only seen the PCVR version. I've not seen the Quest version yet.
Nope.
I think it's going to be way above what you would normally see.
It's for the Quest user to be able to get a game like this on their headset is going to be special. Even if it's painful and it's hard to do it and get it there, it's like that user base is going to be, I mean, dude, it can be absolutely ginormous.
And how do you get a game like this running on standalone? Do you use different textures that are lower resolution? Do you use
I use
less
4K
of this?
textures? 4K textures for everything on Quest. Quest 2, it cuts them down to 2K. I'll probably have to go further than that for Quest 2. I don't do all these tricks with like running the second LOD of a model instead of like PC has all the high poly or higher poly. Most Quest games will give the second LOD, so they always get a first version no matter how far or close they are. I keep the high poly version because I don't want to degrade the quality. Also because I don't have anything to compare it to because I haven't played Quest games. I can only look at a video, and videos typically look better than what you're actually seeing in the headset.
I think this is crazy.
Yeah. I'm so excited, Chadwick, in our Discord. Very generous day of you the other day. You give Chadwick access. Now we can start to build up our little Ruff Talk army.
Well, and Chadwick's probably in it right now.
Yeah.
To be honest with you.
I saw his sleeper on the ground last night. I almost killed him, but I decided not to.
I think he said that he found your body.
Yes.
Somewhere.
He thinks he
probably. One of them. I have 2 bodies on the server. One's a Quest body and the other one's a PT body.
Are you the only person currently that's, I guess, using it Quest, even though it's for development and stuff?
I don't want anybody else to see it. Like, I haven't even let Scott look at it yet because, like, my standards are high. They're not there yet to where I want to show it off.
I can't wait to hear people's reaction internally at Combat Waffle when you finally show them off the Quest version.
So I can't remember who from the team, but they posted in Discord, if I remember correctly, that however good you think Grim is, it's 10 times better. And that the first time I read that statement, this was months ago, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? So to actually be able to visually go in there and see it,
experience it now.
Yeah,
after we've been excited for it for a couple months.
Yeah, I'm biased.
Excuse me, maybe 6 months now.
It could have looked like Minecraft. I'd still be in love, but it doesn't. And we know that
it's beyond lived up to expectations.
It's already blown my. If you told me this is coming out tomorrow, I'd be like, all right, sweet.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to go for me. So, I mean, that statement probably does hold true. Whatever you're thinking about it, however good you think it's going to be, it's going to be
if this drops Q4 2024, it's going to be the biggest game of the year, without a doubt. In my opinion,
it's going to be interesting holidays for a lot of people. No doubt. They're going to have time for that shit.
So Spoonfed, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. I said at the start, I didn't think that this was an interview we were ever going to get. No. So I'm like a kid in a candy shop right now.
It's not happening.
I'm excited. This was a fun one.
I beg for another one.
I think for our listeners, they're going to really appreciate hearing from you directly. Also getting, a couple tips for when the game's out, how to, navigate just a little bit better. But again, just huge thank you for taking the time. Kind of silly, but anything you want to say, to the listeners or anybody in your Discord or stuff like that. I guess how people can.
No, not really. Not at all. Like, I just want to work on the game. I'm not into all that.
That was my gut impression.
Well, I do hope when people hear this and they do post on Discord, and there's a lot of begging, a lot of like questions, spoon this, spoon that, Unity, Unreal. It's like they're hearing it firsthand. Like, no, I'm trying to make this game. Every minute I have to spend trying to answer very repetitive questions. It's like it just doesn't work.
That's why I typically don't respond to all the questions like that, because I would rather be working on the game than promoting the game. Like, I'm trying to make the game be.
As a consumer, I appreciate that too, because that's how we end up with good products.
If you're ever in Discord and someone comes in hot, then the response is, all right, bye. and that person's booted. Oh my God, I die fucking laughing. I'm like, I sent you a message. I'm like, damn, Spoonfed doesn't play when you act up in his server, talk some shit. Like, why are you here? Talk some more shit. Bye. I'm like, this is fucking great. But no, it's important for people to really know. And that's why I asked how many hours a week do you legit work? Because I know you're burning all the time, but I don't think people recognize or really appreciate that the less time people bug you, the more time Spoon has to program, the quicker we get the game and the questions can stop.
And when people do play it, just know it was one guy making it all and two artists.
No, it's ridiculous.
It's incredible.
Hopefully
Great story.
Three artists. Hopefully.
Incredible. Ooh, I'm excited. Like I said, it comes out at the end of the year. If it comes out in Q4, it's going to be the biggest game of the year in VR, in my opinion.
It's on paper a game of the year contender.
So
as soon as it comes out,
stay tuned for Grim coming hopefully later this year.
I'm sure we'll be talking about
it every week. Yeah. To be honest with you, we talked about it on Monday's episode. It's probably going to be, like I said, a weekly.
I make it a point to talk about it or try to at least mention the word Grim. I snuck it into an interview a couple of times, which was funny. I was like, that's a real grim situation.
Well, it's going to be another great example of make a game people want and look at the results. Me and you have been wanting a Rust in VR since we got VR, and that's why I was so excited for games like Township Tale, which were good.
It's being made by somebody who's like, honestly, like a specialist. And like, if you were a surgeon, you'd be the go-to because like, well, I want to live, I don't want to just gamble on, I want the best there is. And there's no doubt programming.
Before we go, people have always been asking about PS. I am working on PSVR 2, the dev kit. So just people know that it is coming.
Ooh, even better. You're not ignoring the PlayStation crowd. It's in the works.
Yeah. And my goal is to make it look just as good as PC.
You single-handedly could float their ecosystem with Grim.
Yeah.
And that's not an insult to anybody. It's just Sony's a little weird with what they got going on. So that's huge for PlayStation players, like real huge. And I have heard that question. Is it coming to PlayStation?
I figured I'd clear that up while I could.
You got the dev kit in the back. You're working on it. Yeah, it's in the works. It'll come to be. When it's ready, it's ready.
Believe shit either until it's like.
Yeah, the dev kit's right there. So
it's working on it.
Dev kit computer, editor opened. Guys, don't stress. I'm hard at work. I'm working.
Great.
I love it. So great stuff. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. The listeners, stay tuned for Grim. This is going to be freaking insane. I can't say it enough.
Take over the VR scene.
Yeah. So great stuff. And I guess we'll be back with you next week. So stay tuned.